It is 7 p.m. on September 1st, 2021. The meeting of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee will now come to order. Please be aware that this meeting is being recorded and the taped proceedings will be available for viewing at a later date on Chelmsford Telemedia. The first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the August 4th, 2021 meeting. I trust that everyone received a copy of the minutes and has had an opportunity to review them.
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any corrections or edits?
I think I changed, I have two things highlighted on there, under the International Day of Peace. I don't know why I highlighted Elvis, and I don't know if you have the other name on there. But also, I didn't know if we should change the date of the point-made learning, even though at the time it was September 22nd, but it's now September 29th.
Yeah, put something in the bracket somewhere, so
Yeah,
that,
that just, okay.
okay.
So if we could
Show
update,
that,
yeah, but it doesn't, things change.
So what was the,
And then
That's why you go to the right.
Is this,
oh, because she's not on the people,
yeah, because she's.
you are not on
I am
the.
not on the
Okay,
work.
that's why I
Okay,
highlighted
that,
that. So with those two edits,
and I will edit the new date.
thank you. So those two dates, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll begin by going through our agenda items. Please note that a few of us are wearing our masks. That is a personal choice, it's not mandated. Feel free to continue to wear your mask, or if not, that's fine too. On our agenda today, we have guest speakers. Today we have Paul Cohen, the town manager. Thank you for coming to our meeting today. We've been in existence for nearly a year. And is this your first time visiting with us?
It was the first time I've been invited, yes.
Yes.
Not that you need an invitation to attend, but it's.
We're very happy to have you here with us today. And we just thought that we would invite you to see if there was anything that you wanted to say to our committee about our work that we've been doing over the past year.
Yeah, my first statement is thank you, and keep up the good work. It's been in a synopsis, but I really want to thank you for stepping forward in what is undoubtedly an extraordinary time. Many of us have been on this planet for decades, and I don't think any of us have seen a time like the present, and it's not an exaggeration. Probably because many of us aren't old enough to remember the 60s, which was probably the most analogous in terms of a turbulent time to what it is today. And I guess that's easy to say since, I was born in the 60s but didn't live in the 60s. When you think about the whole issue of society, uneasiness, unpopular wars, generational feelings, basically a systemic change. And I think here we are 50 plus years later, and and I think we're sort of in another sort of unique time in history, and you are part of that history for Chelmsford. And as you noted, the committee's been in existence from a year ago, and you've made an impact already. I mean, here you are tonight. We're putting together another event for next month, and you'll be before the select board in less than 2 weeks for the proclamation, and for the Day of Peace, and it's having an impact. And I know I can tell you this much: your efforts, and the climate, it is having an impact, and we are mindful than I think we've ever been. And I've been in this business for over 30 years, and I think I have some perspective on that. And again, so my summary is thank you, and keep up the efforts. And I think, like most journeys, you have a path, but the real outcome diverges from the path. So that's okay. And I think you'll continue to encounter some unexpected surprises, and obviously some setbacks and some challenges. So I really want to thank you for what you're doing. Again, I've noted for a year your efforts. I do see the agendas. I see the people that you brought in, HR director, police chief, and so forth. And I commend you on that. And I do work with those people closely. I think in terms of now bringing it around to what my role is I'm the basically chief operating officer, administrative officer for the town. I've been interested in these issues for, personally for probably as long as I've been in the business, and I think Tricia can certainly attest, it really, the concerns really were gender diversity originally. You would sit around a department head meeting at that point in time and it'd be a bunch of males. And I think it's amazing, and I think, tells of the town that we really have achieved, I think, gender diversity in the governance of the town. Where you see it lacking still are areas that are, I think, sort of beyond some of our control. We don't have, we don't seem to have the gender diversity in public safety. And I don't think it's because we're bypassing those people. I think it's because those people aren't available to us, particularly in the civil service system that gives a preference to veterans. It's very challenging because we have to go off of a list. And I know that, and you're aware, there are efforts by a number of communities now to say, well, how do we make departments more reflective of the community? And that's something that we're mindful of. And believe me, I can speak for myself and the chiefs and others that, look, if there were people that we could bring in, we would. And I think that translates to the
So would it help if residents of Chelmsford applied through the civil service website for these positions?
Yeah. But the challenge is the veterans preference. And not to say that there aren't minorities and women who are veterans, but basically what happens is you look down the list and it's like, well, there's also in those systems a locality preference too. And so obviously if you're from Chelmsford or from the municipality, that gives you a preference as well. And also you can do transfers. You can have mid-career people or existing people in the system transfer in. And so we look at all avenues, and that's a challenge because, to throw some data out, because I tend to be a data person, as Tricia knows, we've received some initial data from the 2020 census that was, taken a year ago, and 22% of this community are people of color. But yet, when I sit at most board meetings, exclusive of this one, we don't see that represented in that community. Whether it's town meeting, whether it's the council on aging, or a land use board, and that's something, and that's something I think we're all mindful of, and it's something I think we should strive to improve in the future, because clearly that's where the trend is. I mean, we clearly see the trend going, to more people of color in the community. Aside from the library, quite frankly, or the only other committee that I thought of that was given some thought to this is, we do have the energy committee has had a strong minority preference, and I think that reflects the engineering background that goes to that. And believe me, I'm very careful of words you choose, because people tend to put a lot of weight to your words, and it's not meant to be anything than that. But we tend to see more diversity right now in the community. If we look, we tend to see it in the library employees, and then I think the town board or committee that we see it on is the energy committee. And I think I don't think that's unique to Chelmsford. So I don't think it's an anomaly of Chelmsford. I think if we went to our peer communities, and you would see that same thing. And it's.
Well, for the community boards, people can apply to be on those boards, and every select board meeting, they actually announce the vacancies.
Yep.
So if you're interested in joining a committee, you just need to apply through the town website.
Right, yeah, and we welcome that, but it's hard. I mean, it's how do you, most times, when you ask people, how did you get involved with government, it's either on a personal issue or somebody invited you and brought you in. And so the question is how do we bridge that or achieve that, to do that? Because it's hard. I mean, I don't care what organization you come in as an outsider, it's very intimidating. You come in as, you're a stranger, you feel like there are networks and people, and it's a very daunting challenge. And I think the other problem with government, quite frankly, is it's people don't understand the government. how the government runs and how it works, and I think we tend to be an institution almost like a physician that you really don't need to want to deal with the government unless you have a problem. And then you want the problem solved, and then you want to ignore it again until you have another issue. And so that tends to be the role. And I think, we need to do a better job. And I think the biggest challenge today is what are the sources of information about the town? Because we're clearly in an era of information, but yet it's how do people get information and what information are they getting? Because
I think we're gonna learn more about that this evening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because let's admit it, if you look to your parents, they all grew up with a newspaper or newspapers, and there was reporting and there was journalism and so forth. That industry today is on life support. And so people, if you were to try to learn about Chelmsford government or find a little tracking in Chelmsford from the traditional print media, you wouldn't know a whole lot that's going on in this town or any of the towns. And then therefore people then tend to rely upon social media, which as we know is not always accurate. Or they rely on word of mouth or secondhand sources and so forth. And I think that's our biggest challenge is unlike a for-profit organization, the town doesn't do a good job of marketing itself. And I think you're starting to see a little bit of that change with information officers in the schools and some other communities. But I think that's an area, and it's one of the things that the select board and I are gonna be looking at in the year ahead is we really need to better communicate with our residents. And so that's a challenge. And I think that's, when you come down to inclusion, well, the best way of inclusion is to be inviting, but also have information so that people know what it is that they're, that is of concern and instead it tends to be, government and everything now tends to be issues of conflict as opposed to conciliation.
I think it's also collaboration throughout the community.
Yeah.
And I think we've been seeing a lot more of that lately, and it's been gaining some traction. That's how you get the word out, it's collaborating.
And so, I'll give you an example, okay, real quick, we're out trying to do that. As Latasha said, we make announcements at every meeting, but that's not gonna get us there. And yes, we advertise our job openings, whether it's a DPW labor and so forth, but if you do the try and true thing, you're gonna get the same results going forward. So I welcome anybody who's watching this meeting or anybody on this committee to
If you
please
have ideas.
I have ideas or suggestions or feedback, whatever, please contact me or appropriate department heads. We welcome your input and we really do want to reflect the community because that's what it's about.
Sure.
And that's really how we want to go forward, not only for us, because we're temporary caretakers. I always remind myself that this town has been around for over 365 years. I've only got a small window of this, and God willing, there'll be a long period after I'm here. And so what we want to do is have the impact and the effect and leave it better for those who come after us, just like parents do for their children. Thank you
Well,
for your time.
thank you, and thank you for supporting this committee. We have an event coming up, we actually have two, that you'll hear about throughout this meeting, the Day of Peace on September 25th, and then a film screening on Wednesday, September 29th, and we hope to see you there. Thank you. All right.
Very much.
Our second guest today is Jen Melassen. She is the Support Service Coordinator here in town. Welcome, Jen. Thank you for coming to our meeting.
Thank you, thank you. I feel very honored to have been invited at the same time as our town manager, Paul. So I appreciate it, and I've also admired this committee since its inception, and been looking forward to connecting with all of you and seeing how my office might be able to collaborate with this committee.
Great, thank you for that. That's why we actually invited you here today, just to learn more about what your office does. Do you mind sharing a bit of that?
Yeah, so my office was created in 2019, the Office of Community Services. I am an office of one. I like to say 1.5 because I do have an intern, some free labor with me right now, who's excellent. But really the position was created as a way to sort of, really I embraced the title, my title as Community Services Coordinator by coordinating services in the community for the residents of Chelmsford. And that includes not just the services within Chelmsford itself, but also the greater Lowell area. Because, you know, it's just with a town the size of Chelmsford, you're not gonna get all of the services that folks need, and so you're gonna need to broaden the reach and look beyond. So that's why I work, you know, with most of the town departments, pretty closely, particularly the health department. I've been working very closely with the school department since the pandemic has started. I also work with police and fire and first responders. But beyond that, I'm very involved in the Greater Lowell area. I serve on a few task forces with the Greater Lowell Health Alliance and do a lot of work with our community partners in and around Lowell and other communities in the Greater Lowell area.
I have to ask, could you be just a little bit more specific and give us like an example of something that you've done to help a resident in Chelmsford?
Sure, so that I could give lots of examples, and I think one of the reasons why I really love my job is no 2 days look the same, you know? So,
Typical in government in general, isn't
it is typical in government, yes. But I essentially will help residents with anything from connecting them to mental health services, substance use treatment services. I can help connect folks with SNAP benefits, you know, formerly known as food stamps, connecting to fuel assistance. I'll work with the school department on, you know, if they have a student that they're working with who's having some difficulty, and oftentimes, as we know, difficulties with kids spill over into the family, and so they may call me in to do some work with the greater family as well. My background is in healthcare and social work, and as a social worker, it is my ethical responsibility to embrace the concepts of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I really try to do that. I try to be an advocate to this community and to the individual residents in this community. So sometimes, you know, I will sit in on social security interviews and disability interviews. I once accompanied a resident to Boston who was applying for the private address program to the domestic violence survivor. And so things like that where I'll act as an advocate one-on-one with individuals, but also as an advocate for the community as a whole, which is why I am so involved with things that are going on in Greater Lowell, because I want to make sure that Chelmsford interests are being represented in the Greater Lowell area. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit better.
No, thank you, appreciate it. Does anyone else have a question for Ms. Jen? Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'd love to know like how we can help you and support your office.
Wow, that's a good question, and not one that I had thought of ahead of time, so I don't have a prepared answer. So I love that you're putting me on the spot next to my boss.
Probably increasing the awareness of your office.
Definitely increasing the awareness, yeah. And I'm finding that as time goes on, more and more people seem to know about me, more and more people are finding about me. The other departments in this building are really terrific about letting people know about me and, you know, sending people my way if they get questions that they think that I might be able to help with and to answer. So,
Yeah, the best way I can describe it is, and I created the position and prior, is we have a veterans agent. And if you said to me, what does a veterans agent do? Well, the veteran agent helps out veterans.
Yeah.
That's their job, right? Well, she's the person who helps out everybody who's not a veteran. And that's the best way. And so basically, the people who fall through the cracks, or the people who need assistance, that's her role.
and so that makes it a really big job, right? And so that's why it's important for me to work with all the other departments and community partners that are also working to help our residents in Chelmsford, because I can't do everything, you know? So like the senior center has a terrific social service staff over there, and they do a lot of work for our seniors, and I need them to keep doing that work, because I can't take that on. But if I get a senior that comes my way that I know that could benefit from some help from them, I can, you know, pass them along that way. It doesn't mean that I still won't work with the person as well. I work with plenty of seniors, I work with plenty of kids who maybe are also getting services through the schools, and things like that. So I'm definitely not a person that is gonna say, I'll never help you because you should be going here. Because I really view my role as a supportive role and adjunct to other services in the community.
A liaison.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Any for Paul?
Any for Paul? Our town
You
manager?
guys are just so clear.
If not, we appreciate you coming. You're more than welcome to stay and listen to the rest of the meeting, or you can choose to go.
I would love to stay if that's okay.
Awesome.
I did bring some cards for the committee, just in case you ever want to get in touch with me, you know, feel free.
Pass it on.
Stuff, I'll give it a chance. And you can always just pop into my office downstairs, I'm on the lower level.
Thank you.
Thank
Right in
you.
my office. Oh, do you need that first? I know
That
you got one in the- have lots
She
of
knows how to
these.
get me.
Lots and lots of those. Thank you. It's the gateway to the community. We go right to Jen.
Right.
It's all over. I walked in the building today, there she was in the hall.
Not lingering.
No, we're tired and we're both here for reasons.
Excellent. So that concludes our agenda topic of guest speakers. And again, I thank you both for attending. Our next agenda item is going over current events. During the course of our last meeting to this meeting, there's been a lot of activity. The committee actually went on a police facility tour on August 27th, I believe. 26th. Thank you. And with that, we met with Chief Spinney. This was a tour that he offered to us back in January when he spoke to us in our fireside chat. And we finally connected and scheduled the tour. There were 4 committee members that attended the event. The first thing that I noticed when I walked in, we wanted to give feedback on the tour. The first thing that I noticed when I walked into the main lobby is that the bathrooms have signs on them that says unisex. And that is such an inclusive sign, you know, to have. That way you're not male or female. The facility is being used to the best of its ability. The bathrooms are located right next to the training rooms, so there might be a training where the majority of the attendees are male. And instead of there being 9 males waiting to use the bathroom, they could use either. So that is a very forward-thinking approach when it's feasible to do. So I did like that a lot. Chief Spinney spoke to us about his staff and how it has changed since we met with him back in January. There's less diversity on the police force just because some police officers that either identified with the LGBT+ community or a person of color group has left the force. Those things happen and it's unfortunate, but we'll see if other people in the community who are interested in policing actually apply. That's all we can do at this point is encourage, because this is a civil servant job and you have to fill out the application and meet those standards. So we do encourage people to apply. The other thing that we discussed are some of the de-escalation tactics that his police officers are using. As we know, policing is a very difficult job. And sometimes just the presence of a police officer showing up on a scene can heighten someone's emotions and cause a lot of panic. So he mentioned on several occasions how his police officers use empathy and try to calm the situation and de-escalate the situation. They also are utilizing non-lethal means of mitigating a situation, such as they have tasers, they have a rubber ball, I don't want to call it a gun, but device that shoots rubber balls. And these are meant to be non-lethal, means they are painted a different color, yellow, orange, bright color, so that people know that it's non-lethal. So hopefully some of the issues that we've seen around this country won't occur here. We can't guarantee it, but at least we know our police chief has implemented this, and that message is being sent down to all the officers on the street. There is definitely a need for mental health services here in Chelmsford. Since the pandemic, there has been a sharp increase in the number of mental health calls that the police have been asked to come to. They do have part-time, what do you call them?
It's the mental health,
Clinician.
right, but they share them with.
3 towns.
Yeah, with 3
That's the
towns.
problem, yeah.
So we don't have a full-time one, so if I can encourage our town manager, if he's looking for ways to spend our money wisely.
I would 100% support that. I will say that that program with the clinicians is a really terrific, groundbreaking program, which illustrates the chief's, forward thinking as well. Yeah, and they do terrific work.
And that's it, just to punctuate, and we've seen an increase in suicides as well, and so that just punctuates the problem.
Right.
We're dealing with all others, we see that.
And then, of course, there were lots and lots of topics, and I'm not going to be able to touch on all of them, but in our minutes, I will provide Susan the feedback that I received from the attendees so that she can include that. The other thing that we discussed was our homeless situation in this area. You don't think of Chelmsford as having homeless, but we do. And they need our support. And the chief does everything that he can along with Jen to help those that are in need.
And just encouraging the community to be empathetic and kind, that just because somebody doesn't have a home, you don't wanna be so quick to judge why they're there. And I just find that it would be nice if we could just kind of keep that in mind and help people out, as best we can, either through Jen, through the police department, and not be so quick to judge and throw harsh words. It doesn't help the situation at all.
But all in all, it was a very informative tour. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to go. There were many more topics that were discussed, but just know that our police force is working on the behalf of the community.
And just,
Yes.
one other point I wanted to make, I know that when we were talking about civil servants, for the police department, that military gets first preference. However, Chief Spinney did point out that college grads also go to the top of the stack, so I would encourage anybody who is interested, is a college grad, don't not apply, because you're not military.
Right.
Did you by any chance discuss a possible date when we can get together with their diversity?
Yes, we will be doing this sometime in the fall. A specific date has not been assigned yet, however, that is in the works.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Will that be an additional meeting to our regular one, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's not going to be this meeting.
Okay, but will it be a full, joint meeting of the two committees?
Yes,
Separate?
right. So that is an overview of feedback loop from the police facility tour. And like I said, there will be more details in our minutes.
Now, since we're on the current events topic, before we jump off, there are a lot of things happening in the world right now which are kind of tragic. So I didn't know if Jen, if you had heard of any particular drives or any particular ways that the public can help with both the Hurricane Ida victims or the Afghan refugees or anything like that might come up. Just please let us know if there's anything that we can do.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anything specific to those 2 areas, but thinking a little bit more locally in a micro way, I will be doing something very soon in anticipation of the holiday season coming up and anticipating another holiday season where we will likely see a great amount of need in this community. So I'll keep you posted.
I think too, it's nice to have reputable websites, they have a lot of places where you can donate, but you don't always know if they're the right ones, so
Yes.
that would be helpful, particularly in both those case situations that Trish mentioned.
Yeah, sure, I can
Just
pass
leave it
anything
at
I
that.
find
Yeah.
along.
Yeah, because we can feature it on our webpage and we can push it out if we need to, just, again, who visits our webpage, I don't know, we love it, it's got all our information on it, we hope everybody goes there. But we use our website in general as our main tool that we use to reach out to people, and it's all we have, so we use it to the best of our ability. Any ideas about how else we can use it?
Can I ask a quick question that kind of relates to that? So I subscribe to that news flash thing where you can get emails about all the different town groups, but I mean, I think I only know that because I've chosen to be really involved. How in the world would people who
Well, there's a graphic button right on the homepage, it
Well,
says
how-
notify me.
But you would never, what makes them go to the homepage in the first place? How do we make people know that all you have to do is sign up and you'll get these emails and then you'll know things?
I know, well, the town of Chelmsford has an official Facebook, an official webpage that automatically feeds out to our official Facebook page.
Okay, I'll post it on Chelmsford.
I don't know.
We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, okay.
It's all right, yeah,
Yes.
good, okay,
It goes along with current events, because all our news
Yes.
flashes are current events in Chelmsford.
Yes.
That's what goes along with that. Okay.
Okay, the other thing that I had reported on the current events for today's meeting is that we have written a letter, thank you Susan, to the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, thanking you for supporting us for our in-person film screening on September 29th.
I CC the town manager, so since
Oh,
they
there's a
originally
thank you.
sent the letter, they write you a copy of the thank you letter that I sent to them.
Could you send it to me too, so I have a copy?
I will, okay, I told Natasha, but I'll send it to you.
Are there any other current events anyone wants to bring up?
You got her.
You can just email it.
But Mark, I've got one question, because you were copied on that same email from the library.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that? Do you have a better, I sort of wasn't clear.
Okay.
This was the, I mean,
Yes.
I hate speaking in generalities, but we received a letter from Maria Palacio?
Yes,
Palacio. And this has to do with the land acknowledgement issue. And as we're approaching the legal holiday in October. How's that? For being politically correct. I didn't call it, anyway, but she wrote that, she's begun work on regarding land acknowledgements. The admin staff and department heads have been talking about the need to develop a statement that could be read before any town or library event, and that describes the thoughts, and it obviously reflects the fact that the native use of this land, is not the current use.
Sure.
And I don't know how else better to describe that in terms of,
Yes.
but it wasn't clear what she was looking for you and me to provide back to her, and that's, and I hate to throw you on the spot, I'm
No,
prepared, but I just,
It's okay.
but this certainly would be the committee that could help.
Right, so the Indigenous people of this area, we want to acknowledge that this land once was theirs. We do have an Indigenous Peoples Working Group, and they are learning a lot of information about the tribes that lived on this land prior to us. Carly is the lead of the Indigenous people, and we are going to work with the library staff to continue to educate ourselves and the community about the land. And eventually, the hope is to create a statement that, like she mentions in her letter, to be read prior to town meetings, because you want to acknowledge that an injustice was done and these people deserve to be recognized. The land deserves to be recognized. And do you have anything else to say?
Well, it's exactly that. It ties into another motion that we have that's gonna come up when we talk about the breakout groups, and so we can talk about that then.
Yeah, we can talk about it more during the working group
Right.
meeting, but that is a quick overview of it.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is schedule a meeting with the library staff in order to learn where they are, where we are, and how we can work together.
And I think what I wasn't clear about is should I be involved or should it be the select board? Because they're the ones who set policy for the community, and therefore, and that was why I was trying to get a better understanding in terms of, well, what role do I have in this? In other words, and I didn't want to just sort of pass it off to the select board,
Right.
you know? That's.
And that's
Your
part,
piece is good, yeah, so
Right.
that's part, so do you wanna just go into the update about the Indigenous people, or leave way off?
Maybe we can take that out of order.
we can take it out of order
Okay,
this
since we're
time.
on the topic.
Okay, should we take Indigenous people?
So we have a separate breakout group for the Indigenous people. We have a couple of experts who have been working with us as well, who are not on the committee. And the plan that we have is that we would like to address Columbus Day. We think that it's time to change, and we would like to see it renamed Indigenous Peoples Day. We realize this October, it's just not gonna happen. So we're looking at next year. So what we agreed as a group is that I would reach out to the individual select board members, which I have, to socialize the idea and request that we have a meeting with them to provide them with a presentation, to give them some context, so that they can then go and meet and discuss. So Virginia Crocker Timmons, the chairperson, got back to me and she said, absolutely. She was very supportive, as was Pat Wojcicki, and she called me back as well. So we're looking to schedule a date with the select board, but first I have to hear from Madeline. I haven't heard back from her. She's our expert on this. She's worked across the state, making this change happen, and she's been very successful. So I'd like to invite her in along with Rafa, who's also on our team, and just provide them with some context and get their feedback. But what Virginia did say was that one of the ideas that they had for this year was potentially signing a proclamation acknowledging Indigenous people, but that Chelmsford has always followed the state, and there's legislation that needs to go through the process. But you know, they do recognize that this is something that we should give some attention to. So
Excellent, great. I do believe there are at least 5 bills that are at the State House
And they
right
can
now
solve.
for Indigenous Peoples Day to be identified.
Hardy, can you explain the difference between Indigenous people and Native Americans? And also, what's your background?
Oh, sure. So Indigenous people refers to a number of different groups of people, not just Native Americans, but like my background, I'm Native American and Dominican. Dominicans are Indigenous people. In Brazil, they have Indigenous people. So, you know, it's something that, you know, it's more inclusive. You know, we're not just talking about Native Americans, we're all made up of different things, and who would have ever thought, you know, Native American, Dominican person. So when you're talking to someone, it's hard for me to just say I'm Native American. I say I'm an Indigenous person. Did I answer your question?
Yes, I just thought it was good to explain, because I know there's a lot of confusion around that, those terms, and, you know, just being, you know, correct.
I'm sure I understand.
Yeah,
I'll be honest.
I kind of was unclear myself, so I mean, so you're saying you call yourself an Indigenous person
Yes.
because you're not one or the other, you're a
Right, Indigenous
combination of
people
both.
includes a number of different,
Yeah, but was it Dominicans indigenous to the United States?
No.
To America? No, they weren't, so it's just because they were indigenous to Brazil and Native
or
Americans were
Dominican.
indigenous to here,
Yeah.
and you're a combination, so that's why you call yourself that. Is that okay?
As opposed to people who are here because their ancestors were immigrants to here, isn't that the difference?
That's
Or is
my,
it- I'm not quite right.
my understanding of Native Americans is that they are people who were here on this land
Right.
prior to the
See,
migrations.
and that's what I thought
Okay.
indigenous was, they
Yeah.
were indigenous to this land, so that's why I'm
But
confused.
every
about-
country
Yeah.
has.
As indigenous
Right.
people.
Oh, right.
That's
Of course.
why they use the term indigenous, because it's
Because
more
they're
about
indigenous to this
Right.
country, okay, so, okay, I get that now. So it's not, you don't say you're an indigenous people because your Dominican side was indigenous to here, you just use that as a general term
General
because,
term, right.
okay, like every country can use that as a term because they all have their own indigenous.
Absolutely. I'm just not
Okay,
negating
that's-
one part of myself by
Right, right.
saying that.
Okay.
So all Native Americans are Indigenous people,
Correct.
Yes.
but not all Indigenous peoples are Native Americans?
That makes sense.
That totally makes sense.
Paul, another example would be like the Aboriginal people in Australia, they are indigenous to Australia.
Yeah.
So they are indigenous people, but they're not Native American.
Right.
They're indigenous to their own part of the world.
Right, okay, that all makes sense now.
Okay, that was a good education.
Okay.
And that's why I asked the question, because I know a lot of people are confused by it, and I thought Carly was a great person to explain it. being that
Believe
she-
me, my husband was confused for years by it. He said, wait a minute, I thought you were Native American. I said, I'm Indigenous, but I'm not just Native American, and
Right,
it took
but
me a
it,
while to,
but that part of you is indigenous to this
to
country.
this country.
The other part of you is indigenous to another country.
Exactly.
All right, that makes sense, thank you for that explanation.
And we will be learning and polishing up on how to answer this question so that we can educate the community. So
Yeah.
continue reading, learning, all that you can.
But to bring it full circle with my question about the
Yes.
land thing, that's why I was confused. In other words, should this be something that I should be addressing? or should I
No,
just pass it
the
off to
select board, so,
Okay.
as I said,
I
I've
didn't
already
want-
socialized it a bit with the select
Okay.
board, and
I will do
I'm planning on including.
Okay, I will do that. I just did, I knew I was coming here when, they only received that email message last week.
Right.
And rather than just sort of taking my best understanding of it, I wanted to discuss it with this group,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks.
Excuse me, I missed the very first part. Was the letter a letter you sent?
No,
What
we
is the
sent
letter
you,
from?
It was sent from Maria Palacio, the library.
Oh, from the letter, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
To Paul and
Yeah,
the.
okay, all right, so I
Okay,
will.
questioning.
and I've responded to her and she knows that we're going to schedule a meeting with her.
Okay.
So I think you're all.
I wasn't on your response.
She's in declaration or something. She's
Oh.
involved
I don't remember
in
seeing your
something
response.
similar.
Maybe not.
Yes, that's probably,
Okay.
hopefully that explains, the disconnect.
What was the name of this, the document that they're working on for Susan's records?
Town and land acknowledgement.
Land
Acknowledgement.
acknowledgement, yeah.
Okay, so we took the Indigenous People Working Group out of order. Thank you, everyone, for being flexible. But with that, we're gonna get back to our agenda. And for our working group, the first one that we're going to ask to speak now is the Day of Peace.
The Day of Peace. Well, we had a meeting last week. It was a very exciting meeting at my house. So, we're not gonna say too much. We're on track. We finally today got permission from Unitarian Church to hang the banner. They approved the banner design.
Okay,
So we
I
can
will
go
get that
ahead
ordered
and make the
tomorrow.
banner.
Okay.
And they're very excited. They're going to try to get people to do a table to make little origami peace doves.
Cute,
Yes,
I
so
love
that's very
that.
nice, so that's the Unitarian
That's awesome.
Church. We definitely have to have another meeting because we want to line up the songs in the events. I know that, tough, I know, so we're gonna have another meeting. I know that the Spotlight Dance Academy is going to do 3 numbers. We want to check with the Cambodian dance group, 2 numbers, so we're coordinating the dance and then the singing. The 2 a cappella groups from the high school are gonna do 1 number.
And we are gonna use your stage, so I have to put
Yes,
in
my stage is all set,
School
it's a 20 by 12.
Dude. So I have to put in School Dude and have
You just have to come
facilities
pick it up.
set up first stage on the common, because
Yeah.
why should we pay $500 to rent one, when she's
No,
got
you
a
can
20 by
use
12 stage?
the black box
So-
stage. The kids will take it apart, they know how to take it apart and put it together, and it's only, it's only this big, and you can,
Yeah.
it's not gonna
It's just,
hurt anybody.
we do need facilities to
Okay.
set up.
They just need a transport.
I will put that School Dude in
Yeah.
tomorrow, and I'll order that banner tomorrow.
Right, so we'll have another meeting, and so right now what we're working on is just the absolute timeline of who performs when. That's what's next. And I will go contact again all the players, which is the
And
firefighter and the.
Was that
I
the
would like to
volunteers thing?
volunteer sign up, if
Yeah.
everybody could put their name down on some block
That'd be
somewhere over
great.
there.
That'd
For
be
some
great.
reason, I could not get that thing to work. It says anybody with a link can add their names to it, but
What time?
wait a minute, I didn't see anybody put their name down on
Oh,
it.
I don't have a pen.
You're on there, you're on there. I don't wanna see that piece of paper just flying by everybody's name.
School's back, the gift club came right up to me and said, we're gonna be in charge of the rocks, so they wanted to have the kids paint the
What
rocks.
are they called?
It used to be the Thomas Jefferson Forum, that was very inappropriate, so they smartly changed their name to the Give Club,
Okay.
GIVE, in case you didn't know that, they did that a year ago. Yeah, give, they wanna give back.
We wanna just let the community know what the rocks are about, since
Yeah.
we have this televised
Yeah,
meeting.
so
Yes.
the give club is, they give, well, no, but the rocks are, well, you, Tricia, it was your idea with the rocks, so go.
Where the Give Club is going to
Going to have stones, and if you have any stones to donate, so that children and people can paint words of peace and love on the rocks, and they're going,
Peace
peace
signs,
signs, doves, we're
everything.
going to then make sort of a little
rock garden.
around the big giant peace signs that are going up the,
And the signs are all done.
they're
I have
beautiful.
something to add to the rocks, because they had me in Rhode Island collecting rocks. I was risking my life. And then I brought them there to the
Don't tell
house.
where you went, this is recorded.
And they told me that the rocks that I got was not the right ones.
Oh, she got very craggy. So she made her rock.
I'm gonna show them.
All right, that's going on our table.
Wow, that's
Yep,
awesome.
That's nice.
Carly,
And
can
yes,
you
we
show
put
it?
it on our table.
Yes.
See,
that's
wow.
nice.
You're
Wonderful.
that because they really
I like
teach me
the
that,
song.
that's not kind
We
of
don't
rocks
want
we
the,
need,
yeah,
the small,
kids
soft,
won't be able to see.
but no one told me that.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful.
It's
It is.
beautiful. Nice job.
And each of them are represent each member of the diversity.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
Heavy.
So there's gonna be lots of different activities.
Yeah, so the day is going to be from 1 to 5 on the town common, which is very exciting, so we'll set up of September 25th, which is a few days after the International Day of Peace. And we will have an hour of dance, different dance groups. And then the second hour will be singing groups and singers and a band. And they already going to do an Eagles song about peace, but I already forget the name they told me. And then the third part will be speakers and poets speaking on the Day of Peace. And at the same time, there will be some games for children. We will have the Peace Rock table. We're going to have a pinwheel making table. And now we have the origami dove table, that's just been added. We also will have some food vendors. The lobster roll people confirmed, they were very excited, they just confirmed the other day. So they sell hot dogs and lobster roll and chowder, so we're very excited about that. There will also be Michelle's Ice Cream and the biscotti group and KJ's Cafe. Right, so we're hoping that it's going to be, we don't have a rain date though, do we?
We don't.
We do not.
Do we wanna do Sunday the 26th as a rain date?
I'm wondering if we should do a rain date, because I would hate to do all this work.
Sunday the
We should have,
Yes.
Okay,
yeah, the day after, so I think we should put that out there, I wish we had put it on the.
it's okay, we haven't we started publicizing, we'll just update it.
I have run into Susan twice now at KJ's Cafe, and the flyer was up today.
Yes, I did that.
I think we would have to confirm with the performers.
We will.
Yeah, so I'm
that's
going to
okay.
contact everybody again, so this week and next is our locking down the times, what I'd like to do, because the CCA said we could use their facility for restrooms, et cetera. I'm going to call everybody this week, we're all gonna call and just confirm and then have the order of events. So right now, we're cementing, we have the whole day planned, we know what we're doing, and it's just locking down the times for everybody.
Great.
And we hope we get at least 300 people there.
Yeah, so I'm in the gym by the stage.
Hang on the line, I'm not gonna wanna take them apart now, I think I'm gonna have to, we have to budget for new wreaths for the holiday decorating committee.
And I just want to emphasize that the theme is recovering better for an equitable and sustainable world. So that is the theme, and I appreciate all your hard work,
And
working
all-
group.
it's a good working group.
Yes, it is a good
We'll
working
be doing
group.
some work.
And the Eagle song is peaceful, easy feeling.
Is that what it's called? No, that's not what Daria said. He said something.
Oh, maybe
We're talking about it.
I know that Spotlight's going to, if one song is Dance to Imagine by John Lennon, then there's 2 others. So we're lining up the specific numbers, so people can come. And then from 4 to 5 is a jazz band's going to play as well. So it's a 4-hour chock full of events, so.
Excellent, and we hope that the community will come out and support us, invite your friends, your neighbors. We will be outside and we will be following the current CDC guidelines at the time. Okay, so again, September 25th from 1 to 5 at the town common. Alrighty,
Paul, is there another event during the day, or is that not?
No,
Okay,
no.
all right, so we're
You're
exclusive, all right, cool,
exclusive.
exclusive fun on the common from 1 to 5.
And if you wanna share your flyer with me, I can have that sent out through the Greater Lowell Health Alliance.
Oh, that'd be
And they will
wonderful.
distribute to the
All right.
Greater Lowell area.
Both flyers, This one and that one.
That'd be
Yeah.
great, thank
Send
you.
them my way.
It's just gonna be a positive uplifting day, that's what we want.
Yeah.
You know, bringing the community together.
That's why we
Correct.
need that sustainability, we need to
Correct.
sustain ourselves and.
Cause it was a rough year to go.
Yeah.
There's no sense.
It was. All right, moving on to our film screening working group. Tricia.
All right, well, Brian and Rachel have been really helpful, doing all the behind the scenes stuff for me and working on posters and the invitation list. And we are getting close to being able to really send out those targeted invitations to everybody, the regional diversity committees, regional select boards, regional, the state and local representatives, as well as all residents in town and all the town employees and just everybody should come to this. All right, so basically, it is a private film screening of the documentary, I'm Not Racist, Am I? And this film looks at 12 teenage youth in New York and their year-long journey to discover their own implicit bias and how it affects the way they interact with their peers and the rest of the world. And so we challenge the community to come and experience what they did and to come and bring your questions. Because the one thing that we sit there and tell ourselves all the time is, I'm not racist, am I? And you don't really know until you really get a chance to really look at these deeper issues and see them through other people's eyes. So it's the 29th of September. It is at the Performing Arts Center at the Chelmsford High School, and it starts promptly at 7 p.m. We want to fill that auditorium. Again, it's a 90-minute screening of this film, and then followed by a discussion with the film's director, Catherine Wigginton Green, and she will be there to answer all the questions that the community has about this. It's a really important issue, and I think it's mostly important because it has to start with our own individual experiences and our own individual perspectives. And once we learn how we see things a little bit more clearly, we can then share and connect with our neighbors and friends and the rest of the world a lot more effectively and kindly and empathically. So it's a terrific, this is by the company called Point Made Learning that every member of this committee took part in a training seminar. And so those of us that did that training seminar actually saw the whole movie, but you didn't even realize you were watching a movie because it was broken out into 8 modules and we attacked it at different segments. And it was very, very informative. I think all of us, we had a little breakout sessions after we did our training. And I think we all agreed that it was just a very powerful way for us to just kind of question things we've never questioned. You know, I mean, again, I grew up in this town, I'm white as white can be, and I just didn't think there was a problem because I didn't see one. And it's not until you understand that there are problems that you can start to figure out how you can help. So this is one way as a community, it's free, there's no registration, there's plenty of seats for everybody. We want to fill the auditorium, and like I said, it's an opportunity for us to meet the film director and to really be able to ask the tough questions, you know, and without any judgment. And so it
Start
should be
the
really
dialogue.
positive. Exactly, start the dialogue, that's exactly right.
We
So-
are a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, and this is the opportunity for the community to come and learn more from us, more from the film director, hear stories that aren't particularly, you know, Chelmsford, but the stories resonate with you because you can see yourself or you know someone who's had that experience before. So we do encourage the community to come out with open ears, willing to listen, willing to learn.
An open heart too,
An
an open heart, you know?
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that, you know, if we go back and we refer to the first select board listening session, that, and you hear the stories of Chelmsford residents and students and parents that experienced racism as early as kindergarten in this town. And again, it's not pointing any fingers because we don't know what our words and actions, how they can affect somebody. You don't think about it and we just don't know. So this helps us as a community just be kinder and more aware and more accepting. So please come, it's gonna be great.
Yes,
And I'm looking forward to meeting the film director.
me too.
Does
So,
anybody have any questions about it, where we're at? We do need everybody to be there.
yes,
Hopefully can be
I'm
there.
excited.
Yeah.
It's a super interesting film, super interesting.
We should all bring a friend.
Yeah.
Someone.
Yeah,
I've been talking
that'd be
about it.
great, yeah.
I just wanna add one bit too, that we got those resources of the pre-screening information, so if any groups wanna use this as training for their own group, the Point Made Learning has also given some pre-conversation and post, so groups could kind of use that to start the conversation amongst themselves.
Thank you.
Go to the event together and then kind of debrief on it.
So
Makes it a
every
little bit more
week leading
structured.
up to the screening, thank you for reminding me about that, Rachel, because it started last week with the first one, so they gave us some pre-screening kind of, work, things to kind of start the conversation before the film. So last week was the first one that went out 5 weeks before the event, today another one went out 4 weeks before the event, and in there are all kinds of useful links and research and just kind of questions to ask yourself as well. So every week we'll be doing another one of those little teasers to get people thinking.
Where can we find those links?
Well, there, again, if you sign up for Notify Me news flashes on our website, then you'll be able to get them directly to you, but as they're posted on the Town of Chelmsford's Facebook page, they're posted on our website, on a calendar event on our page, the Diversity,
Okay.
Equity and Inclusion Committee webpage, and then I share them on social media pages, and if you see them, please share them with your friends and family as well.
We should also put that document as one document on our website so you can see all the pre-screening together.
It's meant for us as a
Oh, okay.
facilitator, it's not really worded,
Okay.
but I took the exact wording of each one of those categories and put it into each
Okay.
one of the weeks, and they're, so,
Okay.
yeah, I understand.
So Trish, can I speak?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Is it about the working group?
is it about the working group?
Well, about this, I plan on going to it, but I think also the 40 patrolmen, the Chelmsford patrolmen, there's many, I know they can all go, it's working great, but I think it would be great for them to go to this.
The entire community is invited, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we are definitely spreading the
And
word and it will be on Chelmsford
And I think
television.
the chief would support that too.
Yes.
I met with
Yeah.
him and yeah, I think he would.
Chief
That's great.
Spinney has agreed to be there to support us.
Mhm.
But thank you very much. To remind the community again, that is September 29th from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. at the Chelmsford Performing Arts Center located at the high school. Thank you, Tricia. Thank you, team, for that. Moving forward, it is 7:58. The Resident Engagement Working Group, Carly.
Yeah.
You're the lead for that.
That's right. So we were trying to solution around how we can get the word out. And we talked to Tricia about the website. The website's really not viable. We don't really know what the traffic is. We can't really determine how often people are visiting. So we looked at social media, and Brian and Rachel were helping me with this as well. We looked at Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. We don't really have a lot of experience with Twitter or Instagram, but we figured a good start would be Facebook. So we created a Facebook page. Thank you, Rachel. I started out with a group, but a group opens up the door to a lot of problems.
Okay.
So the page is set up, it's Chelmsford Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Committee.
Okay.
You can just, how many people have Facebook accounts here? So if you have a Facebook account, you can just type that in, and you will find the page. And my ask is that everyone share the page with their Facebook friends, people who are in the community. I did that and I had people accept, and now whenever we post something about an event or anything that we want to share, they'll see it and they can share it with their friends. And so that's how we propagate the message. So I would ask that everyone just go out into Facebook, find that page, join that page, and then share it with all of your friends. And, we'll look at other social media platforms, but for now,
This is a good
I think
start.
this is a good start. I'm gonna populate it with all of the events, but I wanted everybody to join, and then they can see all of their events in there. And we've set it up so that in terms of moderation, there really is no moderation. If anyone who's a member of that page has a question, they can ask a question and will be diverted to Rachel, Brian, or myself. We'll all see that message and we can respond. So there will be no comments or posting by anyone else but us.
Okay, so it's just asking me to like it, so not join.
No, there's a join. It's version.
Oh, I only got a like.
I got a join.
I only have a like, I don't
And
have a
I
join.
increased it.
I don't know why. Could I ask that you change the banner image? That banner image has been
Absolutely, that's
associated
why,
with
yeah, I
too
wanted
much,
you all to get in there,
Yeah.
I'm looking for feedback before I start.
That just banner image is so generic and people
If
just
you
don't
have
like
a suggestion for a different banner image, then please let
We
me know.
had a logo, we'd really be able to use that.
Can we use
I second that, I second that.
tree with the hands on it on our website?
That's on their profile picture, but maybe that would be better as a banner and maybe do.
What about one of the ones from Juneteenth
I don't think that's it.
of the.
That would be a nice banner as well.
No,
Because it should be just.
Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me.
Just showing everybody where to join and like.
Okay.
There may be two different things.
Yeah.
I'm looking, there's a Chelmsford Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee public group, which now has 5 members since I joined.
That's the one.
And then there's a Chelmsford Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, which is a page.
So we have
It's
to.
10 people.
We have a page and we have, I created a group, but no one else should see the group.
No.
I just joined the group.
You just joined
Oh,
the
you just joined the group? Okay. I'm
I
gonna
increased your
post it
membership
there.
by 25%.
I'm the only one that, okay, so I'm gonna delete the group.
So you can't join it,
Oh, it's very complicated, I did that.
I'm gonna
So the
delete that group.
page is only a like.
Yes.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Well, how do you get, I'm on the like only.
Alright, so that's all right, we
I
can
understand.
figure it out, but.
Now I'm involved.
Okay, that's fine.
So the
Oh, I
give
just
like a little
joined
bit
it.
of
I got it.
background.
I
So
just-
the
sorry.
like is good, because then you'll get it in your news feed,
Right,
and then we can share
Right, I
anything that
joined.
we post on there to groups and other places.
Right.
It's like a more public communication than a group, which is like private within the group.
Okay.
So we should encourage people in the conversation, like we should give them like the right for like us on Facebook.
Yeah.
right.
So like us
Instead
on
of,
Facebook on the page.
yeah,
Okay.
and then link to that public page.
Okay.
Alright,
Thank
so
you.
we'll
We
just-
will certainly iron
group.
this out.
Okay.
But I'm glad that we have the page and it will be a great vehicle for us to share information with the community, whether it's about events or just some fun facts.
And what I would really like is if you could go to our page frequently, because I'm always the one sharing, and now you can.
I've actually put a link to your website in there as well.
Alright, good, our website. So yeah, go to our
I know you manage it.
And yeah, just put those right in there and links to
Mm-hmm.
those calendar events, those news flashes, all of that, that would be great. And then we will get some extra exposure, I hope.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think the community will be appreciative that we have a page that we're sharing information on where they don't have to go an extra step.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Page.
We'll see, okay. Are there any other questions or comments about the resident engagement working group?
I would like to see more discussions about other things besides social media and how we can engage the community. We've talked a couple of times about surveys, we've talked a couple of times about, maybe we do some polls, maybe just ways for people to share their stories, that you've always wanted to do that. If there's some kind of a discussion forum that, can be controlled, I know it's hard to do that, but to be truly engaged with the community, it has to be a back and forth thing.
It does.
And that's where we're missing the boat with the town and, did you have an idea, Sharice, or?
Yeah, so I'm looking at this brochure
Yeah.
and I was thinking of a pamphlet like this that could go to all the realtors as new people come into town, like kind of that welcome package. And we could have information about our group, our committee, and just talk about who we are, what our mission statement is. And they can contact us, go on social different pages. And I think that's a good introduction to who we are as new people move into the community. And I do see a lot of sale signs in the neighborhood, so people are moving out as new people are coming in. And I think that's a great opportunity with the realtors, and maybe we can invite them to a special meeting or something, and just, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I know
just-
years and years ago, there used to be the,
A welcome
you know,
back,
the
yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, I know, they used
I
to
knew
be
about
so
that.
great, but, so we don't have anything that we do for realtors, and they don't put anything together for their customers either, it's all, you know, which.
Yeah.
That's
But we
what
can
online
tap
then.
into
Yeah,
our
and we
businesses
I think we
by
can also
direct-
add your
It's also another
services on
industry
there, you know, we can add Jen, what
That's
she
going-
does, yeah.
It's splintered, basically, you know,
It's splintered, yeah.
because it's another, it's just so transformed to an online type of business.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas before, as you said, you had a welcome back because it was a concentrated group at the time.
Right.
yeah.
Well, an opportunity might be with our business
I
development.
was gonna say Lisa, yeah.
Because with the ribbon cutting, they actually give a welcome package to new businesses. I don't know if you guys are aware, but I have attended 2 of the ribbon cuttings recently. So that might be an opportunity for us to share a little pamphlet with them.
But how do we get the businesses to get our word out? You know, that's what we need, we need the other way around, you know?
Right.
Yes, we're gonna promote the business from our perspective, from the town's perspective, but then how do we get the business to share information about the town?
Right.
You know, because, and businesses overall, like the Chelmsford Business Association used to be kind of a lot of back and forth, you know, there was a lot of shared information, that's not so much anymore. But, you know, it's nice to go to a ribbon cutting, it's nice to welcome a new business, but then, you know, they're going about their business and we're going about our business, but to maintain a connection and a communication back and forth about what's going on. You know, again, keeping them engaged and involved in what's going on in the town is another missing link.
It's definitely something that we should talk about more and
Yeah.
see what we can come up with. We're not gonna have all the solutions today,
Oh
but
gosh, no.
you know, it's something that we can keep in mind. But one other thing, I have been looking at Andover because they have a diversity council and they actually did a survey for their town. And I wanted to reach out to them to learn more about it and how they went about it. So those are definitely things in my mind.
I was gonna ask, how do we find out how many new people move into the town? Is there, like, who knows that?
The assessors get, I mean,
Somebody gets these are the new
And
people, these are
eventually-
the homes.
Eventually, she'll find out new voters.
yeah, I know voters, the assessors get
So there's really,
the
it's really up to the
deeds,
federal.
There's no
Deeds.
centralized.
There's no
It's
centralized.
just the tax bills, you know, so the tax bills is how we know who owns what property.
Oh, wow, okay.
But we don't know who the renters are.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, it's too bad.
And that's now a bigger, larger component.
Right.
But again, going back to mailing is a little too expensive, you know.
I was gonna say, wasn't there something that used to be mailed to all the residents?
We only have there's only a couple of things that go out to every resident. That's the community ed brochure, which is very limited what information they allow us to put in for town related stuff. There's the town census, which we have a lot of information in there already that people ignore, which, you know, I like the actual census form. It's like, please file your census. And then there's the tax bills, and there's an insert that's allowed, one insert per quarter, but usually, like the assessor always has the one in March, or, you know, that goes out for the, so there's very limited, because sending out to every household costs thousands and thousands of dollars, so to generate our own piece is a little costly, so, but our census form, I mean, we've got dog licensing information in there, the census is very important. This year, we're gonna have to put new precincting information in there, so, and last year, I think we put stormwater thing in there with don't throw your dog poop down during, because, like, you know, we do dog licensing, so we said, okay, fine, that'll work. But it's kind of tough to just keep, if you shove it with too many things, then people are gonna disregard the purpose of the initial mailing, so it's.
And the waste department, they do their annual mailing too.
Right, the recycling.
They do one, yeah, the recycling
Ones.
flyer, but that entire flyer is from front to back is all about solid waste and recycling.
Yeah, it's one seater.
I'm
Have
sorry,
you put anything in the senior center newsletter that goes out?
yeah, we actually have both of our events in their September newsletter already. And actually, I gotta get to the library because the library does theirs weekly.
Yes.
And I think I'm late
Yeah,
on
they
that
do.
one.
We're gonna
I
get to
did
the
give a
library.
flyer for them.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. So thank you, that's definitely something that the resident engagement working group will continue to talk about, and we can share ideas with them as they come to us. Next, we need to build out our Black History Month working group. We're about 6 months away from that. Do we have anyone who's interested in leading that working group? Let's start off with the champion.
I gotta get through the
All I
day
know
of
is
peace.
I just gotta get through. We're doing the same thing we did last year. I'm only collecting information.
Yeah.
That was enough work. I can't be involved in what you put out for research.
It was a lot of work,
It's a lot.
and I don't think we'll do exactly what we did last year. I think we should do something different.
I'll volunteer for that one.
Okay, thank you, Sharice.
And anyone who wants to join the working group, let me know.
Yeah, it depends on where and what you have at your working group parties.
We're going to her house.
We like Lauren's.
We can have up to 3 members join Sharice's working group. So Sharice, I'm going to task you with asking people, and please respond to Sharice if you want to be on that working group. Alrighty, thank you for that. Thank you, Sharice. Alrighty, the next one is Watch It Wednesday. And again, Carly is the champion for it.
Okay, so Watch It Wednesday, this is an event that takes place monthly, the last Wednesday of each month. We had a couple of test runs with the library, both online. The library has a catalog of films that they can stream to, I think, up to 300 people. And they can dial in and watch a film. They've been collaborating with us on the content, and I gave them a list of films that we might want to consider. The next Watch It Wednesday is actually scheduled for September 29th.
I know.
And so, I spoke with the library and they said that, yeah, let's put it off because they're also doing another event in September. So they said, yeah, we'll just put it off until October, but they're going to screen Fruitvale Station, which is, Fruitvale Station.
I wanna see it.
Yeah, it's really powerful. And so we're gonna do that. I said that we should keep it consistent the last Wednesday of the month, so it'll be the last Wednesday in October. And I will be a moderator. I will say that the last film that we showed, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It was a great film. There was a lot of really good dialogue going back and forth. We didn't have a huge attendance. But this next event should be in person, and hopefully we'll get more attendees. But it was just a great back and forth discussion, and I think everyone came away with a lot. So we hope to continue to stream some insightful films.
Are those, then I could go back and look at past ones on their website, or are they rebroadcast?
I don't believe that's a really good question. I'm not sure. Let me check with her. Yeah, that would be nice, yeah. I don't believe they are, but let me check.
But once you enrolled in this, you become a member or something of Canopy, because now I get emails. I don't know if they're from the library or Canopy directly, that tell me what's now available that I can just watch on my own.
Really, because I, signed in, and I haven't received any updates from Canopy. Maybe you checked the box that said send me updates?
Maybe I
I
did.
never checked that box.
Notify me.
Yeah, that may be what it is.
Is it actually 27?
Is that the last Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At
October
6?
27th. Yeah,
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
And what was the date of the October one?
October 27th.
27.
I just got one on Friday, it told me films to watch this weekend, and it has all these films that matter, and it just lists all these titles.
All right,
So-
I'll have to check it out.
Great. And if you can, please participate in the Watch It Wednesdays. I
If
anticipate.
anyone who's interested in acting as a moderator, please feel free, let me know, because the discussions are a lot of fun. You get some really great feedback from folks when, you really start digging into it.
So our next, is there anything else for the Watch It Wednesday? I just wanted to mention that the library is going to help us promote our events that we have upcoming. That was mentioned in the email communication, and we want to help promote theirs. We can put that on our Facebook page. Okay. Alrighty, it is 8:15. We should start discussing our next meeting, which is going to be Wednesday, October 6th. Are there any particular guest speakers that the committee would like to see? I did reach out to Linda Hirsch, and she's not available for the next few meeting dates that I've shared with her. So that is going to definitely be in 2022 before we meet with Linda Hirsch. That doesn't mean we can't start thinking of questions to ask about the school curriculum. But at this time, she's not gonna be on the agenda for 2021.
Do we have to have the assistant superintendent at this, like, can we have a school committee member separate from her, or are we planning on having both at one meeting?
I was going to have both at one meeting, but on September 7th, I'm going to the school committee meeting to invite them to the film screening.
Okay.
So it is possible that we can ask a school committee member to one of these meetings.
Yeah.
Who's the chair for the school committee?
It's Dennis King.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was like, I have to check my email.
I watch them regularly.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So Brian, did you have a question or a comment? Okay.
I just picked them up.
Okay. So our next meeting, any ideas for guest speakers? Because we want to engage the community, learn more about other departments and groups.
Have you met with the Board of Health?
Have not.
Because that might be, in terms of particularly
Ooh, that's a good
outreach,
timing,
because
especially with the clinics.
they're doing the clinics,
We're gonna do
you know,
the-
both
the-
COVID, seasonal
Yeah.
flu. and
Very
I think
good
that
idea.
the whole issue of health concern,
Yeah.
I would, anyway.
That's
Thank
a
you.
that's a suggestion, yes, we haven't had Sue yet.
Right.
I was also gonna suggest
Sure.
the regional director for the Frontline Initiative, which is the initiative of the clinicians that work with the police department that respond to mental health and substance use calls. I think he would be, Matt Page Shelton is his name, and I'm happy to pass along his contact info to you. I think he would be a great
Maybe in
resource.
November would be good for him, it's so close to the holidays.
Yeah.
What's his title?
He's the regional director of the Frontline Initiative.
And we do not have to have two guest speakers at every meeting, but this was an opportunity to have them here together, so. The only other person that I thought of was Chief Ryan, the fire chief, as a guest speaker. Him and I have spoken offline, and he's like, yeah, I don't have a diversity committee, so there might be an opportunity to talk to him too.
And probably at some point you want to tie into the planning board, because they are in the midst of finalizing a master plan for the future decade or so of the community in terms of development, growth, planning, zoning, and I think you might want to touch to that, because obviously diversity
Right?
clearly should be incorporated into that.
So focusing mostly on the master plan.
Yeah, not the committee, because the committee's finishing work that goes to the planning board, but I would think in terms of the master plan, in terms of, well, how do you
Yeah.
involve that the town zoning may change in the future, or the permitting process that to influence or improve the diversity of the
Select
community.
board member sits on the master plan. What do you do?
They're wrapping up,
wrapping up.
and again, they're the subcommittee that sends it to the
So-
planning board, which
But
owns it.
would Evan be the best spokesperson?
No, I think it would be, I think you'd reach out to the planning board itself, because Evan doesn't adopt the master plan,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
the planning board,
Okay.
you know, so I would talk to the chair of the planning board and say, you know, look, we, you know,
Tim Shanahan.
we understand you're changing, you know, you'll be updating the town's master plan.
Yeah.
And then how is the diversity component, you know, follows with.
And on the heels of that, I think probably the age-friendly committee as well, because I think it would be important for us to be incorporating DEI principles in age-friendly.
We had Deb Siriani
Yeah,
on
we've
already,
had
but
her.
maybe what we could do is do an extra meeting with the age-friendly, the domains with our
Yes.
committee, you know, and actually meet jointly.
Mhm.
That would be something that would down the road.
One other group we may want to talk to in maybe December, January would be the new sustainability committee, clean energy one. Just to see if they have any, if we have any concerns or if they have any concerns that we could work with, because the effects of climate change are usually felt more often by communities of color. So that would be like an overall sort of thing that we could just talk about, not necessarily just in Chelmsford, but in, Greater Lowell in general. Just to see. if-
Great ideas.
Hmm?
Susan, have you been getting involved?
I think so.
Great Clark.
No.
You own this
Awesome.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to scoot out.
Okay.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
so much.
Anything else? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Oh, do we have a date for the next meeting?
Yeah, 10-6.
And
Okay, motion to adjourn. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Thank you, meeting adjourned. Have a
Thank
great day,
you.
stay safe.